Hi. I want to talk a little bit more about brain injury again. You know, it's very hard to put yourself in someone else's place. I know before I was brain injured, I didn't understand it. I could, yeah, I was a social worker and we had a brain injury unit on in one of the nursing homes I worked at. And you could only go so far when you don't understand it by having one. You can look, you can be empathetic, you can give people what you can give based on your job. But now that I've experienced, it's a whole different ball game. It's such a fight to come back. And a lot of people who don't have brain injuries, again, as I keep saying in different videos, people will tell me, you don't sound like a brain injury. You don't look like you're brain injured. What are you supposed to look like when you're brain injured? And what are you supposed to sound like when you're brain injured? Yeah, I had a certain slur in my voice, but I've done the work to correct it as much as I can. And it comes back at times when I'm tired or when my defenses are down. Um, I've achieved, absolutely, but I'm not perfect. I'm not going to be perfect. This is a brain injury. So the assumption that someone looks, quote, normal and you should feel fine. What's the matter? Why are you down? Because you have this and this and this. Yes, you can see what you have. Anybody can. But anybody can have a bad day too. And people want to get it out. And then you're attacked for letting it out because, well, you're a survivor. You have everything else. It's not a fun thing. It's a lot of work. It's daily work. You can't neglect what you have, but you can try to strive to be the best person you can be and go beyond. That's the whole thing. We're never done learning. We stagnate when we choose to stagnate, and we achieve when we choose to achieve. I'm not saying everybody can be at the point I'm at. I don't know what your injuries are. I don't know where they are. I don't know how extensive they are. I don't know if you had a bleed or you had a concussion. I don't know any of that. And I don't know how you perceive life, because that's a big thing too. Because different people with different perceptions have different motivations. That's another thing. If you don't have the motivation to get better, you're not going to get better. You're going to stay where you are. If you depend on the doctor saying, oh, you know what? You should feel this way. This is what you should do. Okay, I'll try it. And if it doesn't work for me that way, I'll modify it to work for me. Don't be mindless when it comes to a doctor telling you the things to do. You listen, you try to apply it to your life, but you can modify it. You don't have to be so strict into that. And you don't have to wait for the doctor to tell you. You can tell the doctor, in fact, what you have learned about yourself and what you want to try to do. And the doctor can meet you in the middle. We're part of our health plan. We're part of our recovery. We're part of the big picture. It's not just the doctor healing us. We inevitably can open up the door to healing. We can. And like I said, you're not going to be 100% perfect. Bleeds, forget it. You're not going to be 100% perfect. You try your best to bring forth your brain to get that brain plasticity going, but you'll still have those little knocks, those little bings. It happens. But what do you do with what you have to enhance it? I don't want to be one to say you're perfect and that you don't need any therapy and that you're perfectly fine. You had injury. That's not fine. But you can take this life now and do something with it. And try your hardest to bring something back. Any part back. You don't have a good memory, then do you know how many not even brain games, how many games are on here? Simple memory match to start with. There are a whole bunch of different things you can do you could be inventive. You know, there are ways to do this. And it depends on what your challenge is that you can base it on. That's why I keep saying, when you have injuries, find out from your neurologist what parts of my brain are injured. What are the functions? And if they can explain to you function, but then you can look it up. Okay, that part. Let me look this up more. Let me do some research on it. Let me give me time for me and figure it out. Then you can bring it back to the doctor going, I know this part of my brain does this and this and this, and it's not functioning right. So I'm trying to think what the heck I can do to try to conjure it up. That's where therapy comes in. Cognitive therapy, biofeedback. There are so many different things you can really look at that will pertain to you. What is your interest? Okay. Say it's computers. Well, to get back into computers, what do you need to do? Well, we need to learn the keyboard again. We learn how to type again. We need to learn a certain language. Well, that's a little difficult depending on your brain. Okay, but why don't you start with simple things? Simple word processing things. You don't have to put pressure on yourself to be that person again, because you're not. You're not that person. That person's inside you. The problem is you have a brain injury. So parts of your brain are not quite at tip-top shape. And they may come back and they may not. But what you have is you have your life. You survived for a reason. Then you take that, and first of all, you find within you that strength to keep going. Number two, you find what you do have, what you can do. Even if it takes going on a YouTube channel and teaching about your computer skills. There are things you can do with what you have. Now, if you're having a problem with speech, go to speech. Practice. That's how we can keep moving forward. Those little tiny things. I put down one thing at a time, and I meet my goals. And yeah, it's taken years to go from one to another to another. But there's no pressure, because I know I'm doing this. I know I'm doing it correctly. I don't have to pressure myself to do this. Time. I got time. But life is about taking a hold of whatever circumstances come up and working with it and surviving with it. God doesn't want us to stand and sit in this negativity and this, I lost this, I lost this, I lost. Okay, well, what do you have? What did I give you? Yes, you have your life. And yes, you have gifts that you have within yourself. And if you didn't take a lot of time before to look at yourself, really look at yourself and see, what can I offer the world? Okay, what can I offer me? What can I offer my family? What can I give that's a part of this world that I can sit down and say, okay, there you go. Can't do this, but I can do this. That's why I have my group. That's why I try to uplift people. That's how I learned, really, to find me again is to look in the mirror and find me and take myself apart and put myself together. Because without you being in control and you being happy and you being in a place, how can you do that for anybody else? How can you give to anybody anything? I didn't even know this. I didn't hold on to this. I was a victim of my circumstances. I never thought I had any worth. It took an accident. It took losing everything for me to understand that there, I'm worth something. And yes, I may not have much now, but it's gold because I learned and I'm growing and I'm changing and I can give something. Yeah, I can't do the same work I was doing and I don't know what I miss about it. Yeah, I miss the smiles on people's faces if I could help them. But I miss more the independence. And that has nothing to do with a job. That has something to do with standing on your own 2 feet. That's achievable. Even though you're not perfect, doesn't mean you can't do things for yourself. So, it's finding that bliss, finding that chi, and doing the things you love to do. But maybe you have to approach it in a different way. Modify that because your life is modified. But we all learn. We don't stop learning. We don't stop growing. We don't stop changing. It's just sometimes we lose our way. Or with an accident, we're reset. And you have to start again from the beginning. And that sucks, especially when you're happy. And all of a sudden, bam, that's what happened to me. I wasn't happy in everything, which I come to realize now, but I achieved that job that I wanted, that I longed for, that was a goal. I got it. Unfortunately, things happen. But I had my kids. I wouldn't have had my kids through in vitro if it wasn't for the accident. It just wouldn't have happened. My hormones were so, but I didn't even know about the autoimmune, and I wouldn't have known that. Once I had the accident in 2001, they found hypothyroidism. That was never found. And I didn't know I had Hashimoto's in my system. Prior to that, it was never found. So for me, this needed to happen. And I'm sad in one way, and I'm excited about what could be. But it's the time to achieve it. That's what's so frustrating, because it takes so much time. But what is time? I haven't seen time in a very long period of time. I haven't seen true deadlines, true time. And even if you try to put, oh, I'm going to achieve this by this date, I can't do that, because what if I can't? Then I'll be disappointed, and then I'll be more antsy. And I'll be like, I got it. Do you gotta? Who's pressuring you except for you? I'd like to achieve this. My next goal to get a car again. I'd love to achieve this, but it'll come when it comes. For now, I can save and look at things for what they are, make sure I have everything, so when that time comes, I got it. So this is what I'm trying to bring forth. Once you have an injury, life changes. You don't rush through to get to the next step to get done, because you need to see the process to understand what the purpose was. And I know that's weird to say, but there's purposes for everything. Would you have been doing or enjoying what you enjoy before the accident? Would you have even looked at yourself before the accident? What is your purpose now? I mean, can you see this accident as something positive? Any aspect of it. I mean, maybe physically you're not 100%. Maybe verbally you're not 100%. Maybe mentally you're not 100%. But what is it that makes you tick? What's your gift? What do you? Because you're still you. You're just a little banged up, a little broken. Well, how do you fix it? How do you get to a point of you being happy, of you being able to coordinate your brain to think a different way, but still get from point A to point B? That's the called challenge to it. God gives us challenges every day. And the people that say their life is perfect, they're not perfect. There's nobody who has a perfect life, except when you go to heaven. Then you have a perfect life. But on earth, everybody has challenges. And what someone else's challenge could be, you could think, oh, it's so easy to resolve. Not to the person that is going through a challenge. You can give what you can give to the person. But until they get through, they can't see what the answer is. That's everybody. So when things get bad, when devastation happens, when somebody dies, we have to go on some way. We have to let go of all that hurt and hate and whatever else, depending on the circumstances. And understand that's part of the process of life. Same with losing a loved one, or breaking up with somebody, or divorce, or anything else. We have a life to live, bad and good. But what are you going to do with all that? What do you do with it? There are challenges at every road. This is just another challenge to see what you're worth to you. Will you put yourself first for just a little while to rise above? Sometimes that's difficult when you have a family. But my brain injury was so bad. I was in such a fog and my brain literally stopped to the point that I had no running thoughts in my head for that first year. And I was played with. It's very strange to say I was played with. But I would go by facial expressions. And when someone would smile at me and insult me, I didn't catch the insult at first for a while. But listening and trying to get it. And God really showed me more about expressions, about verbal, about everything, that I can read people now. I couldn't do that before. I would look, I would listen, I would take the words, and that's it. I wouldn't read people. I couldn't see inside of a person. Now again, I can see when somebody's hurting and they could be acting like they're not. I can feel that. I was so wallowed and broken that I wasn't even feeling. I was going through the motions and thinking, this is what I needed right then. This is what I need. This is what I need to do. This is what I need. This is my purpose. To work, to do this, do that, to be the certain person I needed to be. But it wasn't the purpose. because sometimes we are the way we are and we accept things that we know deep down in our heart really aren't the appropriate thing, what we need. But it's a growth. It's stepping out of the comfort zone and looking around you and taking that chance. Well, I got to reset. And I'm not going to just let that go and throw it away. I'm going to take it as a reset and have a second chance to be the kind of person I need to be. Not that I was a bad person before, but I let the circumstances override who I am. Now I don't. I don't take anything for granted. And I long now to be around people more. So gaining that opportunity is very difficult because, again, it takes steps. But it's getting better. It's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but it's getting better. And it's learning what I can do, what I can't do. And I keep going. I keep going for my kids. I keep going because there's more to life than just sitting and waiting for life to happen. So I'm trying my best to become a person again. To get out there and to be able to be satisfied with what I'm doing, what life is giving me, and to not have to look back, but to look forward. So there's your pep talk for tonight. Have a good night.